Welcome everybody to Pinfalls and Passports. For those who don't already know, this is a podcast for people just like you who love the sport of professional wrestling and for members of our WWE Travel Community Discord server. Not a member of our WWE Travel Community? Come and join one of the fastest growing pro wrestling communities online. You can find the Discord link invite here in the podcast bio. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Pinfalls and Passports and TikTok at Pinfalls_Passports. And please don't forget to follow and subscribe to this podcast to keep up to date with all the things involving the wacky world of pro wrestling. My name is Danny Dom, and this is Pinfalls and Passports. And today, once again, I am joined by our in-house AEW expert, Mira. How you doing?
Pretty good, fighting a cold, but I'm very excited. We have a lot to discuss with Blood and Guts, Collision, and Full Gear.
We certainly do. So today we are going to be breaking down one of the wildest, the most historic, the most chaotic AEW Dynamites we have seen in a long time, the Blood and Guts special. And yep, we had everything in this episode. Brutal spots, some emotional storytelling, some impactful character development. We're going to talk through this wildly entertaining albeit rather brutal, 3-match card and talk about the fallout heading into Full Gear and all the implications coming out of Blood and Guts. But let's start off, Mira. What did you think of the show?
Overall, I enjoyed it top to bottom. I liked how they had the card. It was only 3 matches. They didn't do anything over, we wanted a full show, and they did like a over the time limit type of show. They kept it, I think, 2.5 hours. They had the 2 Blood and Guts matches and then 1 solid match in the middle. I think that was perfect, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not even sure we needed anything more than those 2 Blood and Guts matches, to be honest.
True.
I think the only thing we probably definitely didn't need was the FTR segment. I think probably cut that bit out. But yeah, I suppose they needed a bit of time in between those 2 matches to give everybody a break. Let's get into it then. Mm-hmm. Starting with arguably the biggest headline of the night, the first ever women's Blood and Guts match in AEW history. Let me just say, they did not hold back on this one, did they? This was not watered down. This was not a half measure of the men's version. This was full on brutality. And honestly, one of the best women's matches, in my opinion, that the company has ever produced. What are your thoughts, Mira, on this match?
I definitely agree. I'm glad the women started off. Honestly, they could have main evented. It would have been great. How this match was produced for them was great. As I was like talking with like Austin in the chat and stuff, Sky Blue, she has been waiting for this moment. She comes from a background that loves like this type of match. So the fact that she started off the match along with Willow was just 10 out of 10. Willow is a class act. I praise Willow all the time. So those 2 starting for their like prospective teams was just great to see. And then the Hellfire introduced. Sky is just cut open within 8 minutes of the match, less than that probably. And you're just like, how is she going to last this whole fucking match?
Exactly. Like, she was bleeding buckets, like, for within within 2 minutes of being inside that cage. Yes. And I was like, how is she going to get through till the end? She's losing a lot of blood here. Let's just set the stage quickly. So we've got Statlander, Toni Storm, Willow, Jamie Hayter, and Mira Shirakawa on one side. Yep. Across from there, we got Marina Shafir, and we'll have a lot to talk about her.
Yes.
Sure. Megan Bain, Mercedes Moné, and obviously the Triangle Bandits, or the Sisters of Sin, and Julia Hart, Sky Blue. Incredible group of women that we've got in that division currently. I don't think this just added a lot to the stock and the value of those women, which was already on a rise, right, for many of these women. No, I think the tag team, it added a lot to the tag team tournament, really gives that some interesting sort of stories coming out of this. But what I really loved about this match was just the creativity, the storytelling. I just enjoyed this from start to finish. Obviously, we knew that the heels, they had the early advantage, but obviously it's Sky Blue that immediately gets cut open. She's bleeding buckets. That really set the tone early on that this is going to be violent, it's going to be dangerous, no one's getting out clean from this match. But We had all the sort of brutal spots that we're used to seeing in these brutal AEW, but a little bit different. It didn't feel it was rinse and repeat. There was some new stuff. There was some creative stuff. Monet with all her belts, using them as weapons and things, swinging them around and all that sort of thing. We had Mina come out with that barbed wire bat, and Marina Shafir, who honestly had the standout performance in my
Her and
opinion of
Sky
her
Blue. Her and Sky Blue.
yeah,
Her and
and
Sky
Sky
Blue.
Blue as well. Performances of their AEW career for sure. And Marina, especially pulling out that bed of nails from under the ring, and we've seen that bed of nails once before. Which match was it in the men's? It was definitely Adam Page one. Was it Adam Page and Swerve Strickland? Was that the one where we saw that once before?
I believe so. I believe it was. If not, I feel like Moxley somehow involved with it. One of the two.
Maybe we've seen it a couple of times. I was not expecting to see it here in that blood and guts match.
I wasn't either.
No, and unfortunately, it was Chris Statlander that took the brunt of that. Tony Storm, as well, and the spot that really stopped me with her, we went taping those sort of shards of glass to her fist after smashing that bottle. That was fitting perfectly with her character. She had the sort of Joker makeup on. Jamie Hayter, the big entrance, coming out swinging that garbage can lid, like the final boss. But let's talk about some of the spots in this match. What really stood out for you, Mira?
I feel like seeing Shafir step on the glass, that was some crazy shit, and then stepped on Mina's like abdomen, like stomach area. I'm like, okay, all right, this is where we're starting at. But even earlier in the match, like all the women were cut open, but like one, and that's Mercedes Moné, because we knew she was not going to take that. She took her table bump. She brought her belt in the ring. And I liked how she brought the belts in the ring, because people were like, these belts are just not being used. All she does is carry them out. No, they're being displayed on TV. These promotions that would probably never see TV time is getting TV time because she's bringing their main belts for their women's division in the ring. So I thought that was like a cool little like tidbit there for her. Chris Statlander, she's a beast. She's a beast. Again, a lot of these stories have just evolved. Even post the match, Tony and Mina did like a little backstage ad. It was like, we're good at two things, fucking and getting fucked, something like that. And I'm just like, this is just great because it just like expands on the stories. We already know Tony and Mina are a tag team. You have these Sisters of Sin. You have Hecla going after that main belt, but also having these other stories with Jamie Hayter, Queen Emanata. There's so much stuff happening right now for them. And I feel like the women's division is really strong. I feel like also, I don't know if you peeped it, in the women's match, Mercedes Moné was holding Chris Statlander's AEW Women's Championship belt literally the entire time she was in that match. You don't have that belt. Why are you holding that belt? There was just a lot of things that stuck out to me, and it was a lot of moving parts, honestly, but it was super entertaining.
100%. That, as you said, Monet holding the belt, it does not give a good sign. We all know that there's not good luck to be touching those belts before you win them. So I don't like Mercedes' sort of chances there. But yeah, really historic. We've seen some really brutal stuff from AEW over the years, but we haven't really seen a lot of extreme violence or hardcore style storytelling in the women's matches. We've seen the odd sort of thing, but it does show that AEW is leaning a little bit more towards the sort of hardcore brutal matches for the women, and they've got the women that want to do this. And they've got women that are experienced on the indie circuits with these type of matches now, and they want to be involved in these kind of matches. And yeah, Marina Shafir, wow, this looks like a big push coming for Shafir. She looks like she's heading towards being one of the top level players for AEW in their women's division for sure. I think when we took her shoes off, she took her shoes off, didn't she? And we got an idea that something was coming. I didn't think she was going to be putting her foot in all that broken glass. And then, like you said, just stomping away. And that is brutal. We know we've seen her do some things with her feet before, which were pretty gross. But that was, I don't know what her foot care routine is, but they must be made of some really thick skin. Let's talk about the finish.
Yep.
The end, the storytelling. I absolutely loved how they creatively finished this match. So talk me through the end of this match, Mira. We've got Tony Storm being held, and Tony Storm and Mina Shirakawa isolated in the cage with 5 members, everyone apart from Monet who's still on the slot, 5 members of the other
and
team.
I think that was done really well. She did not need to be in that match. I love Mercedes. She did not need to be in the ending of that. I feel like the other women valued and their stock rose because of that. I really did enjoy that. But the Triangle of Madness was holding back Storm while Shafir and Mina were trapped in Mother's Milk, right? I think it was. And Bane was like hitting Mina with the TBS title. That's also something I noticed. I said, oh, okay, there's other pieces there as well. And Storm is just in agony. It's similar if we go back to Elimination Chamber this past year with Bianca when Jade and Naomi had that battle. It was just like, no, it's something similar to that. And she basically surrendered to save her. And then as soon as the bell rang, Storm ran over to Shafir, tried to attack her, tried to console Mina. And it was just like, okay, there's more to this story. Like there's more coming for this. And then Shafir and the others get a few more shots in, but then they celebrate. And it was just like, that needed to happen. I'm glad that final shot, I don't know if you've seen it, but like the picture is Megan Bane, Shafir, the Triangle of Madness, just all bloody in the ring.
Yeah.
And Monet's not in it. She doesn't need to be in that picture. That's not her. No. That's just realistic. It's not her. But
exactly,
it was just a beautiful, it was just like, okay, this was beautifully done.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Yeah, it felt historic. Like you said, it felt meaningful, and it did something really important, which was elevate multiple women at once. And you're absolutely right. Monet on the outside, she doesn't need elevating. So she didn't need to be in that shot. But Shafir, Bane, Hart, Thekla, and Sky Triangle Madness came across like the cohesive, dangerous trio that they're trying to paint them at. And obviously Tony Storm sort of surrendering to save her partner, Mina. The love story continues on this. I am so excited now, even more than I was already, for the future of the women's division in AEW. And this just adds even more intrigue into this tag team tournament that we've got coming now. I cannot speak highly enough of this match. I thought it was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, this match to me was 10 out of 10. Again, the men had a lot to uphold. I don't know if they upheld it. It was very enjoyable, and we'll get there, but these women kicked off the show with a bang.
100%. Brilliant. Let's move on, because there was a match in between these two blood and guts matches. I'm going to be honest, I may have taken a bit of a toilet break during this match, so you're probably going to have to fill me in properly. We had Hangman Page versus Powerhouse Hobbs. Falls count anywhere? Was that the stipulation?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk us through this sort of placeholder match, really.
Yeah, so Page, he came out, his ribs are taped up. Hobbs, he just looks real grimacing. He just looks real like, very much, I want to kill you for Joe. I'm just out here to finish the job so then Joe can finish the job next weekend, that type of thing. So the two meet in the middle. They started trading shots. Hobbs tried to launch Page into the exposed turnbuckle, because I think right before the match, he rips it off, or like attempts to. And then Page stopped. They weren't successful in that. They fought away in the corner. Then I think Page hits a clothesline to Hobbs, but he does not go down. I remember that, and I'm like, oh, he's not trying to sell for you, Page. What are you gonna do here? And he's a big boy. Before Hobbs was injured prior, he was a beast already. So it's just, this is also helping to elevate Hobbs in a way. And there's other speculation I have. We'll get there. But Hobbs is ready. He flattened Page with a clothesline of his own. Hobbs rips off the ace bandage that's basically around him, that's like protecting him. And then Hobbs smashed Page into a guardrail. I do remember that spot there. I'm like, oh, is he dead? Because I was like, is everything okay? And then I think Hobbs, what does he do? He took too long getting back in. So then Paige took advantage of that. And what did he do? Yeah, so like he took too long and then he tossed him into the guardrail again. And then Hobbs fights back, I'm sorry. And then he whips him into a guardrail on the opposite side. So it's just like a lot of what the fuck. They're just trying to kill each other. Like Hobbs is really just trying to be like, you're done for. In a sense, it's just
He's
super
softening
brutal.
him up, basically,
Yeah,
isn't he? He's softening him up
even more.
Yeah.
And all I remember was like, it's your fault, Shivani. It's your fault, Shivani. That's literally it. That's all Hobbs said. And I'm just like, what the fuck? You can't even blame him. It's a fucking Halloween costume. Duh. It was actually very creative. But the brawl continues. Paige, I think he threw a trash can at Hobbs. And then Paige charges for another attack. And then Hobbs puts him through the table in a spine buster. And then he went to pin him on like the actual table. Paige kicked out, like that wasn't going to happen. Brought Paige back up to the crowd and he slams him off. Again, Paige fall back. You know, Hobbs is like staggering along. And then Paige ran up the steps at one point in the match, took off his boot so he could gain a head of steam, and cracked Hobbs in the head, sending him to the floor. And I think like he crashes into the electrical sparks.
Yeah.
And then Paige made his way down, pinned Hobbs for victory. That's just how that match went. I think that was super entertaining. Again, it gave you a little point of Hobbs trying to soften up Paige for Joe. You had Paige trying to prove himself about, hey, I'm gonna take you on. You can be the biggest, baddest guy out there. I'm still gonna come out on top. So that was just like, okay, we can see how this is gonna go. But remember, when you're champion, you're not alone. You always have somebody as your friend. But when you have your enemy having two other allies, you're looking kind of weak there. Like you're going in there very vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the story they're obviously trying to tell. Hangman took a ton of punishment. It's perfect because it makes him look vulnerable going into Full Gear. Exactly how you want to escalate the feud. Obviously, Hangman looks like a fighting champion, is willing to go to hell and back to retain that championship. But I think it's making things interesting going into Full Gear. I honestly think that match could go either way. But there was a story after the match. Obviously, rest of the ops come down. Start the beatdown on Hangman. Thankfully, we got the save from Eddie Kingston and Hook, who sprinted down. Hangman then fired up bloody, and they tried to trap him in the cage. Was that right?
Yeah.
Was that right? They were trying to get the cage lowered again so they get him locked in there to beat him down. But thankfully, they didn't quite do that. After the ops get beaten off by Hook and Eddie, Hangman fired and bloody and pissed off challenges Joe to a steel cage match at Full Gear. So we are going to get a cage at Full Gear. I'm not sure how this is going to help Hangman or how this is going to help Joe, because the idea of the cage is that it keeps people out. So I don't know why Joe's agreeing to this, but I think we know that really that never happens anyway.
Doesn't really keep people out. They throw things over, they climb over, they open the door.
Yeah, and then we get more weapons. Right. It's disqualification, right? So we will see. So that's interesting and adds another element into that match as well. So yeah, looking forward to that. Looking forward to Full Gear. Let's skip straight on to the main event, the men's and guts match. Now, I don't know if somebody needs to tell Tony Khan that it was Halloween 2 weeks ago or a week ago, because I feel that this would have been better placed on Halloween night, because this was a horror movie. Let's talk about it. I don't want to say this too lightly, but what did you think of the violence that we saw in this match? It was what we expect from AEW in some ways, but there was a few elements of this match where even I was a bit squeamish and thought, okay, this is getting a bit uncomfortable. What do you think?
So I enjoyed it, but that's because I'm an AEW sicko. And when I first started going to like indie shows, like I was going to GCW and they were doing shit like this. So I was always around. I was like first, second row at some of these shows, and I'm like, there's glass popping on me and shit. And I just fell in love with that type of wrestling. I don't know. I just love it. I know a lot of people can't stomach it, and I totally understand. It's a lot happening, but I don't know. I enjoyed it, and knowing all the guys in the match, this is something that they wanted to show. They wanted to share that story. Even Hangman, he did promotion prior to Blood and Guts in the area, and he was like, "It's a family show." Now I get it. Some people are like, why would you want your children at this bloody thing? But I think the kids know it's a story. Like, I think kids are starting to realize. When I was younger, I was all in for, like, when John Cena was bloody and he retained the belt or he won the belt. So that drew me into wrestling as well. So I get his point. It is an affordable show. It was a 3.5, 4 hour show, or however, especially if they started prior with ROH and stuff. I think a lot of people that did go and this was their first show, they got a good bang for their buck and probably got some more fans into on it. As you even started out saying, this is probably one of their best the Dynamites they had in a while. So, yeah, go off that momentum from there. But there was crazy spots in this match.
Yeah, you know what? It's not really it's the level of violence that we've come to expect in these kind of matches from AEW. That wasn't the thing that kind of made me feel uncomfortable. I think the one thing that stood out was just the amount of blood early on that Kyle O'Reilly was streaming from his forehead. Now, if that was just a regular match, I wouldn't be particularly concerned. But knowing how early that was in that match, and knowing that the match doesn't actually start until all the competitors are in the ring, I'm like, at the rate that he is losing blood here, is he going to be able to make it to the end of this match? Because I don't remember the last time I saw a wrestler bleed as much as Kyle O'Reilly did in this match. And it just seemed to keep pouring and fresh and coming out constantly. I'm like, this guy is surely going to pass out soon. But
it's like he lasted so long that this raised his stock.
Oh.
Even the last 3 weeks that he's been going against Moxley, the tag matches, the solo matches, things like that, this has been like, and I think I even said this prior, I'm like, yo, you're seeing a different side of him. Like, you're getting the NXT black and gold Kyle. So I'm just like, this, honestly, I could see him going after the new national belt or even the Intercontinental belt or whatever the equivalent is, the TNT, whatever. I can see him going after other things now. Before, we were concerned about where he could go because he had the injury. We didn't know how he was going to bounce back from it. He had a few matches here and there. He just looked like he was there. No, this week he was there and he was showing you what he could still do.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. This was huge for Kyle O'Reilly. And like you say, the last few weeks, he has been showcased to the ability that we know that he has. We've seen it. We've seen it in NXT. We saw how talented this guy is. But you're right. There was a period in his career with AEW that he just looked like he did not want to be there. He was not involved with anything. He wasn't having matches. He didn't look like could even be bothered to properly dress when he was coming to the ring. I just remember thinking to seeing him there, just wearing a plain t-shirt, not doing anything, looked so disinterested. And I was really concerned he was going to be heading the same way that Bobby Fish did. So glad for Kyle that didn't happen. And now we've got, like you say, this push for him and showcasing what he can do, because he really was the story of this entire match, really. But let's go back to the beginning. So we've got Darby Allin kicking things off with Wheeler Yuta, and immediately uses his skateboard wrapped in thumbtacks. Of course it is wrapped in thumbtacks. It is Darby Allin. We've got Orange Cassidy. He follows up with the broken frame of his sunglasses as a stabbing weapon. Fantastic.
Very on brand for him, honestly.
Oh, brilliant. And there's some funny Orange Cassidy spots in this match that we'll go into in a bit. But Garcia comes in, adds a bit of technical brutality. We've got Moxley coming in with that fork, which was just...
him and this fucking fork. I'm really tired of this fork.
Darby getting ragdolled around like nobody's business. It was a crazy match. Quite early on, we heard that Briscoe was not going to be cleared to compete
Mm-hmm.
in this match. He'd previously been attacked backstage by the Don Callis family and wasn't going to be medically able to compete this match. So the story about the majority of this match until it basically properly started, which is when all the competitors are in, that this is going to be a 5-on-4
Four. Yeah.
match because Briscoe isn't able to compete. So it was going to be the advantage, the one-man advantage to the Death Riders and the rest of them. And that showed right through this match. There was times I was thinking, oh, they're really dominating this match because they've got the advantage. But then I realized they didn't even have the advantage at this stage. They didn't even have the man advantage.
Nope.
And they were beating the living hell out of the conglomeration and the rest of the crew. There was
And then
a moment finally when Pat comes out. He's the last man. He is looking absolutely crazy, absolutely jacked at the minute. Like that.
I don't know what he did on his time off, but he looks fucking insane.
It is insane to think that this is Neville, right? This is the same person that we used to see. And we've seen Pat when AEW started, when he first joined AEW. You know, we saw him and it was great to see him actually being able to really unleash that talent that we knew he had and see how incredible he is. But this version of Pat, this bulked up, muscly version of Pat looks like an absolute monster. And if something is happening around here, and I have a feeling after the result of this match that there's going to be a bit of friction in the Death Riders. If they're looking for a new leader, Pac is the guy. He is the guy to take. If they're going to continue with the Death Rider story without John Moxley, Pac looks like the guy that's going to be taking the reins. Surely he just looks like a terrifying individual, right?
I think it would either be Pac or Shafir, because Shafir is that mouthpiece. I feel like Pac isn't as confident on the mic, but I feel like she would be a great leader for them. She's been doing a lot anyways. That's where my mind went post the match.
That will be interesting for sure. But let's go back to the match. Obviously, everybody's in the ring. And of course, I think we were expecting this. Briscoe does come down. Finally, he comes out last after being attacked backstage. He hobbles down to the ring. Clearly, obviously, wasn't in a lot of pain because he does some ridiculous things in this match. But let's talk about the insane spots that we had. We had broken glass. We had fighting on top of the cage. We had Claudio swinging people into chairs.
We had
Darby murdering himself.
We had the toolboxes. We had the bats.
The bats, the toolbox. We had the chairs on top of the cage.
The staple gun.
The staple gun, right. Orange Cassidy getting his hands stapled into his pockets by John Moxley, which I thought, firstly, was hilarious. Obviously, completely unbelievable and unrealistic, but also at the same time, very funny. I'm not really sure how they thought that would actually hinder him, considering Orange Cassidy surely wrestling with his hands in his pocket is a superpower in the first place anyway. So I'm not sure how they thought, but it certainly looked painful. We had a flaming table. We had the extra member of the Death Riders turn up, Gabe Kidd, who appears from time to time when he's not over in Japan to help here. And he was helping Pac get Darby in a position. So they're up on the stage. There's two tables conveniently set up. And Gabe Kidd comes and attacks Darby to help get him up to Pac, who is standing on top of the elevated platform. Below, there's these two tables. And Gabe Kidd pours this lighter fluid over both of these tables. And as he's about to go and light these tables, the shot goes to Pac. You think he's just going to be throwing Darby off, but he ain't. He is just holding Darby above his. Gabe lights a table. The tables go up in flames, and Pac throws Darby straight through these flaming tables. Darby rolls away. His pants are on fire still. It took a few rolls to get that fire out. That was pretty pretty crazy. We had Briscoe on top of the cage fighting with Yuta
Yep.
for quite a while, and they did quite a creative spot where they had, what was it? One of those ropes. What do they call those? Those.
The fuck, like the. I know what you're talking about. I'm trying to think of the name of the rope. Fuck.
Yeah, there's ones you do by rock climbing where they hook them on or whatever, and then you go up the right. Anyway, they had one of those, and Briscoe throws it off the cage, which I think it was Kyle that then hooks it around all these chairs.
Yeah.
And then they start pulling up these chairs for weapons onto the top of the cage. I'm not sure how well they thought this through because Briscoe had a real struggle getting them up past the metal that was around. But he did successfully get those 4 chairs on top of the cage. We had basically a sword fight, a chair fight between Yuta and Briscoe. I was just thinking at this point, please, because there was still that table set up below. I'm thinking, please let's not have anybody go off the top of this cage, please, especially because only one table. Thankfully, we did not, but we saw some brutal stuff. That blood and guts cage is well built. It's better than the WWE War Games cages.
It seems like
that's a well engineered cage. There were no concerns that anybody was going to be falling through it or it was going to break or anything like that. That thing is solid. So they were able to do quite a bit on the top of that cage. We saw the J Driller.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, I thought the cage would collapse when he did that. That's what I thought it would collapse, but then it didn't. I was like, okay. And then Yuta went and hit a low blow, which is very on brand for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the finish. As you said, Kyle O'Reilly, a star is made. It's been building up in the last few weeks. We've seen these 2 matches already that Kyle's had with Moxley. The first one where Moxley got disqualified, so he didn't have to tap out. The second one where it looked like Moxley had got basically choked out from a guillotine outside, but they've both been counted out. And here we have the end result. Kyle O'Reilly gets Jon Moxley in a knee bar and ankle lock type combo or something, lying in all that broken glass. The rest of the Death Riders are being held off. It's really whether Moxley's going to tap or not. And Moxley does indeed tap out. Not only does he tap out, he's tapping out on that broken glass with his hand. But yeah, he taps out. It's a statement. It's an elevation. Kyle O'Reilly walked in this match already with his stock higher. But now he's really walked out as someone who is just forced, who's supposed to be the toughest guy in AEW, to submit in a deathmatch environment. That is star-making stuff. This match had everything. We had violence with a purpose, story, emotion, risks, and a meaningful finish as well that elevates someone new, which I enjoyed. So, yeah, I thought it was a solid blood and guts. By far, the women's match was the best match on the show, but I don't think anything could have beaten that match. I don't care how good the men's blood and guts match was. That women's match was one for the ages. Absolutely fantastic show. Really enjoyed it. Any lasting thoughts with regards to blood and guts? And
honestly, I am thoroughly pleased with it. A lot of it is leading into Collision this evening, and I can tell you what's happening on the card. So you have Mark Briscoe versus Mark Davis of the Don Callis family. We have the TNT Championship, the Proto Star Kyle Fletcher versus Scorpion Sky of Skyflight. There is a All-Star 8-man tag match, so it's FTR and Rush and Sammy Guevara. And then it's Jet Speed versus Robinson and Bandito. And then you have Rio and Alex Winter versus Maya World and Hyon. Because there was something that happened last week. It was supposed to be, I believe, Tegan and her girlfriend, but it was a whole bunch of backstage debacle with that situation there. But
yeah, they walked out or something like that, didn't they?
Yep, and I think for Maya World and Hyon, this is honestly a great opportunity for them. Let them keep going. So I'm excited for that. I'm probably most excited for Kyle Fletcher and Scorpio Sky because Scorpio Sky, he's a 2-time TNT champion. He's been at that top before. I think I seen him at one of the shows that they had in Philly where he retained or one or something way back when. But Kyle Fletcher is starting to making. I don't see him not going into Full Gear as champion unless some tomfoolery happens. But I'm very excited for tonight. And then next week, we have Full Gear.
Absolutely. And I think Collision's live tonight, right? Because
Yes.
they obviously didn't record it after Dynamite. I do remember, I think there were tickets online, and thank goodness. I don't know how any of those people would be able to wrestle after that Blood and Guts match that were on that card. So they got a few days off at least. But yeah, a live Collision show. So I'm sure it will be good because, as we know, usually Collision is recorded immediately after Dynamite. So if you get a Dynamite, you get to watch both shows. But with this been a live recording, sounds like it's going to be a good show. So we'll make sure to tune into that. And then, like you say, we're heading straight into Full Gear. So we will be back next week after Collision and Dynamite, which I guess is the go-home show. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. We do have a lot of matches already announced for Full Gear. We have the Casino Gauntlet match, which we don't know all of the participants for the inaugural AEW National Championship. So that'll be interesting to see who is involved. I've been to one other Gauntlet match in person, and that was at All In 2024. And we didn't get to see all the participants because Christian won. But I'm very excited to see this one. We have a $1 million trios match as well during Full Gear. We're raising the stakes.
We are, and I don't know where this money's coming from. This $1 million, which it seemed that Don Callis set up for this one.
Yes.
I don't know, is he paying the $1 million, or is he got the automatic sign up from Tony Khan for the $1 million? I don't know where all this cash is coming from to pay these competitors for these high stake matches.
But no, we definitely have a lot happening, especially with Full Gear. I feel like by Wednesday we'll know all the matches, so we'll get into that then. But I'm very excited for Full Gear. I will be in attendance. A few other server members have also announced they'll be coming or buying tickets day of. So I hope to see them there. Please say if you're going. Try to get a picture with everyone there. I know we always get pictures at WWE, Mania type of events. Let's try to get a picture at Full Gear if we can, y'all.
Sounds good. Wish I was joining you for that one, Mira. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make that trip, but I will certainly be joining you next week when we go through the go-home show for Dynamite. We cover Collision, and we will set our predictions for Full Gear. And then after that, I look forward to hearing all about the Full Gear show. But of course, I will see you in a few weeks because we will be in DC for John Cena's last match. So very much looking forward to that. So guys, if you're listening, make sure you check out our WWE recap show for all the WWE news, all the WWE updates and show reviews. Interesting times for WWE as well. Let's just touch on it quickly. What did you think about the news from Cena in Boston that the show will be focused around newer talents facing off against the main roster talent?
I am very excited. And I thought that's what he said. And then me and Dorka talked about it. We were like, and then he confirmed and said, okay, great. So I'm like, I'm glad we're going to be showcasing NXT talent. I feel like this will give them a little push, a little bump. I'm hoping that it's both men and women. But I know the card probably won't be too long. Probably maybe 3 hours match. The last match is obviously John, but I'm really hoping for some good bouts.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, let's hope that they are able to showcase some of the upcoming talent just in the way that AEW has been able to do at their Dynamite episode last week. So great. Thank you so much for joining me today, Mira. We better go because we've got another show to record very shortly. Is that right?
That is correct. It
is the Discord server 2-year anniversary show. So we've got most of the team hopefully joining us shortly. So that'll be released in the next few days. But yeah, stay tuned to that, guys. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We have been Pinfalls and Passports. My name's Daddy Dom. Thank you so much, Mira. We will see you all next week. Take care, guys, and have a great weekend.